Good evening, and welcome to the Bullshit Channel. In some of my videos, I make comments about funding for these social change groups. I came across the term social justice warrior, and I found out that's an umbrella term for groups like Black Lives Matter, any of the feminist groups, the gay groups, the whatever the hell butthurt group. So I started looking into the funding. I said I was going to. And the first one I came across is funding for Black Lives Matters. Okay. Now, this information's found on the internet, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but, we look at the funding behind these groups and we'll find out what political side they're on. Because obviously Republicans are not going to fund Democratic groups, and Democrats aren't going to fund Republican groups. And as far as Black Lives Matters goes, I found a article by Casey Hendrickson, who is a Republican. And he also owns AS Defense, which is a knife company. That I looked at his site, and he makes some pretty high-end cutting equipment of different styles and price ranges and shit like that. Never bought any of his stuff, so I don't know if it's any good, but that's what he does. And he's also a radio talk show host. Black Lives Matters is cashing in on liberal foundations and donators, raking in tens of millions of dollars. A recently announced Black-led movement is a 6-year pooled donor campaign aimed at raising $100 million for the movement for Black Lives Coalition. That funding comes in addition to more than $33 million in grants to the Black Lives Matters movement from top Democratic Party donor George Soros. Okay, so you already found out I looked up Casey, so let's see what George is about. Okay, George Soros is a Hungarian American. He was born in Hungary. And as of May 2017, is in top 30 richest people in the world. He started the Society Foundation, which is supposed to be human rights, women's, ethnical, racial, and religious minorities, drug users, sex workers, and LGBTQ. He made his money as a hedge fund manager. So, if we look back at 2008, he was a part of that. All of them were. And he's a Democrat. He's in trouble with the government of Hungary. He started a college over there called Central European University. And his government's going after him because, one, they haven't filed all the appropriate paperwork. There seems to be some conflicts of interest going on between Hungary and the United States. Because I guess this college, I'm not up on that. I read what they do, and it's, like any college over here does, except they're offering joint Hungarian and American degrees. And I guess that's not allowed to be done unless there's proper paperwork and the U.S. agrees to it. And so it's not and it's also a private college. It's not Joe Blow Schmuckatelli from Hungary is going to just walk on campus and plunk down some bucks and be able to get in there. You have to be pretty flippin' rich, though I cannot find, probably because it's private, I cannot find what their yearly tuition is. So it's any of the private schools, their tuition is like extremely high. He was a donor to Clinton. He was a very large donor to Obama. He backed Hillary. And also, what would kind of raise my bullshit meter is through his foundation, he's funded some anti-Semitism groups. You know, and that's just looking at one donor. I thought what was interesting, that I believe was Rutgers, at one point tried to claim he was funding, that's the Tea Party split off, where, you know, the people were protesting Wall Street and all that other crap. I can't think of their name right now because they've sort of kind of disappeared. And it's come out since that was Koch funded. So, being it was funded by Koch, who is a Republican backer, I'm pretty sure that Soros had nothing to do with those protests because they were backed by the Republicans. Something else that was pointed out to me, I stated in my AA Christianity and sex offender video that my sponsor and my other best friend in AA died in 2012. That was wrong. They died in 2010. I was corrected on that by my sponsor's widow, Kat. And I knew that. I don't know why I said 2012. Well, that's when my mother died. So maybe, you know, somewhere in my mind I got them confused. I'm not sure. But, you know, it's, you know, finding that funding, and it wasn't really hard. I don't know, it took me about an hour. It's really hard to do research on a phone because, you know, browsers don't connect right, and because it is a mobile device, your search engine doesn't generate all the hits it might if I was doing this on a laptop or a desktop. But I've been looking around for a cheap laptop because the more I do this, the more I enjoy doing it. You know, and like I've said in other videos, I don't care who I piss off. I have a freedom of right. I have freedom of speech, and I'm going to exercise it. You know, the thing since I brought them up, the old Koch brothers. You know, if you're a Republican, you might want to look into the background of the Koch brothers and see if you agree with them. Maybe you do. I don't. I'm not a Democrat either, and I'm not a Republican. I don't really know what I am. All I know is I agree with some of their shit, and I agree with some of their shit, and other stuff I don't agree with on this side, and other stuff I don't agree with on the other side. I guess I would be a middle of the roader, which there's no political party called middle of the roader. And over the years, I've voted both ways. I've voted Republican and I've voted Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. I will say I voted for Hillary, not because I particularly liked her, but I felt she was better than Trumpy. And I found out after the election that my vote didn't count anyway, so it didn't matter. I went down and did it. For some reason, I turned 18 a long time ago, and I've been a registered voter in Ohio since I turned 18. I voted in the last elections that were held down when I was still living in Carrollton, Ohio, which is Carroll County and not Summit County. I was able to vote because I had changed my voter registration. Well, when I moved from Carroll County back up here in September of 16, within a week of moving back up here, I went down to DMV and got my license changed to my then current address, and I changed my voter registration to Summit County. Well, when I went to vote at the polling spot, which was the same place as my dad's, I was living with him, so we drove over there together. My name's not on the list. So they told me I had to fill out a provisional ballot if I wanted to vote. So I said, fine, I'll fill it out. Something got lost somewhere in translation, whatever, I'll fill it out. Well, a couple months ago, I find out that the provisional ballots in Ohio were thrown in a trash can and weren't even counted. And Ohio's Republican, so I don't know if it had anything to do with the fact I'm a Democrat or whatever, that I voted for Hillary or whatever, but from the information I have found out, and I did some more research, I found out that yes, indeed, the Board of Elections threw all the provisional ballots in Ohio in the dumpster without them being counted. So that just goes to show you how fucked up our goddamn electoral process is. Which, even if they'd have counted my vote, wouldn't have counted because Hillary won the election on popular vote by like 3 million votes. And we got Donald Trump as the president anyways because the electoral college put him in there. Which the electoral college is a crock of bullshit anyways. Our presidents and any of our government people should be elected by popular vote. Not by the size of your state, not by what area you live in that state. But the only way that we have a voice in election is if our vote matters. And obviously, because we have Trump and not Hillary, it's been proven in this election and the previous election that we're not choosing who our president is. Our presidents are being chosen by big business. And they're being chosen by a corrupt governmental policy that because, you live in some red state that has a high population, their vote means more than your vote if you live in a blue state with a less population. And that's bullshit. Whether you live in Ohio, whether you live in Alaska, whether you live in North Dakota, you live in Florida, it doesn't matter where you fucking live, your vote should count. All right? I don't know what the problem with this is. I don't know why more people don't complain about it. I can see why the Republicans wouldn't because their candidate won. But come on. If Hillary won by 3 million popular votes, that should be her whole. I forget now how many votes she actually got, but that's millions and millions of people that should be bitching about the Electoral College, and nobody is. The way they do elections anymore. I can remember years and years and years ago when you went into the Ohio ballot to vote on who was going to be who was going to be on the ballot for the presidential election, you had a lot of friggin' names. This time around, we had one, Hillary. What's up with that? If people can't see that our voting process is bullshit, you're probably the same people that belong to the feminist groups and think that all men are dickhead assholes and should be killed. Or you belong to Black Lives Matter and think all white people are dickheads and assholes and should be killed. Or, any of these other groups that promote this one-sided agenda. Which I guess that boils down to what I said yesterday, the all sheeple. You can decide on what color and type and kind and number of doors and shit on a car to buy, but something that really matters to our existence as human beings in the United States, you go along with some majority bullshit. The Electoral College is junk. It's been junk. I've looked at some research, why did they even come up with it? And I kind of sort of understand how it was done and the reasons why it was done, but it was still bullshit. Because even when it was conceived, they knew that there was going to be people that their votes didn't count. If you're a citizen of the United States of America, your vote should count. And anything that's stopping your vote from not counting is bullshit. You need to do something about it. You know, I'm looking into what I can do about it, but the avenues of what I can do are really at this time limited to donating money. And I don't have it. I don't know anybody that lives on 12 grand a year has money to donate to any cause. And the people that listen to, that are influenced by other people, I'm not going to influence anybody except maybe scare them. Okay? Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's bad. It's not that I actively portray a persona that scares people. I really don't. I try not to. But, you know, if you're scared of me because I wear a leather vest and have long hair and a beard, you're a pussy. And you're a sheeple. So you're a sheeple pussy. You know, I got pretty adamant yesterday about saying fuck you to all the monotheistic religions. I had nobody beating down my door. I haven't been kicked off of YouTube because probably the right person hasn't seen those videos. And being that I'm a nobody, they're going to see the website, you know, my tube site of old Mike Emerson, and I'm nobody, so, you know, they're not even going to look at my videos. So it's sad to say that I'm pretty safe because of apathy. That's about all I wanted to say. You know, I do want to reiterate that, you know, if you think you're behind some organization, look at who's actually behind an organization. You know, these people, and I'm going to keep using Black Lives Matters as a example right now because that's what I started this video with, and that's the first funding information that I found on them. That the people that are in the streets didn't get 33 million bucks. Okay, so who is getting the money? I still have yet to find that out. I can find some individual donors, which Soros is the biggest one. And I will say the other ones are all Democrats some way or another. That are, you know, minor, you know, $1,000 or $2,500 or whatever the hell. But, you know, the big money's coming from the Democratic Party. If he's doing it, you got to know that there's other ones doing it. Because he's not going to be a lone stranger. He's talked his philanthropy buddies into donating also. You know, that's any organization. I used to be, at one time I was a member of the wildlife, what was it called? WWF, World Wildlife Federation, or Fund. And they do a lot of good work. But I found out that they're being sponsored by the Koch brothers, so I no longer watch their videos, I no longer go to their sites, I no longer support them in any way, shape, or form. You know, if you really want your vote to count, vote with your money. Look up the Koch brothers on Google, which I'm going to talk about Google tomorrow. It's not hard to find. Type in Koch brothers subsidiary companies. And I had the list here somewhere. I'm not sure where it went. It might have got thrown away when I cleaned. There was a whole list of companies that are owned by the Koch brothers. Georgia Pacific. I will no longer buy printing paper or anything else from Georgia Pacific. once I, get set up and I get a printer and the computer and stuff like that again. Mardi Gras Towels is owned by Koch brothers. I will no longer buy Mardi Gras paper towels. Dixie is owned by the Kochs. I will no longer buy any Dixie products. And there was about 7 different mainstream that I've seen in store products that the Kochs own. So if you want to do damage to the Republican Party, quit buying their fucking products. There's a hell of a lot of other products out there that aren't owned by the Koch brothers that you can buy. I haven't really gone into all this because I shop at Save-A-Lot for the most part in Dollar Tree. But even there, if I see Mardi Gras shit, I ain't buying it. If I see Dixie shit, I ain't buying it. And I'm sure there's a lot, that was a list of 7 companies. And I don't know if you do business, a lot of their companies, besides those 7, deal with industrial shit. They make a lot of housing materials, wallboard and insulation and stuff like that. If you're having a house built, you don't like the Koch brothers, look in to see who owns the company that they're using their materials to fucking build it. If they're owned by the Koch brothers and you're a Democrat, you're a dumbass if you continue allowing the use of their products to be used, because that just puts money in the Republican Party's pocket. There is a way we can get some control back, and that's by not buying, as an example, Koch brother products. And I'm not talking Coke the drink, that's C-O-K-E. These Kochs are K-O-C-H, okay? And Daddy Koch, that made the original millions and millions and millions of dollars, did it doing drilling in Russia. And I find it quite interesting that when Daddy Koch come back to the United States, all of a sudden he's anti-communist. Because, granted, he come back to the United States after making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars off the Russians. He come back and started blasting the communists. So to me, that's hypocrisy. You made all this money off of them and now you're blasting them. So, it was all about the money. It's always about money. So, y'all have a good night. Thanks for tuning in to the Bullshit Channel. Do research. Have a good night.